Hello Internet, I am the hero of Julios once again with another episode of Tutorialmon. In this episode, we'll be going over the 4 main phases of the game, as well as what happens in the individual parts of it. Below is an example of a board state after your opponent's turn has ended. As you can see, some of the cards are turned sideways. This is known as being suspended. Various actions you do and effects of cards will put cards into the suspended state. It doesn't matter which way the card is turned, so long as it is turned at a 90-degree angle. Once our opponent's turn has ended, and all of our start of turn effects are finished activating, our turn has entered the Unsuspend Phase. During this phase, we will turn all of our suspended cards back to their original direction, facing our opponent. Some cards might prevent this, but this is more of a case-by-case type thing. Once all of our cards that can be unsuspended are unsuspended, we can then move on to our draw phase. During the draw phase, we will take the top card from our deck and add it to our hand. This is called drawing. The only time you don't draw during this phase is if it is the very first turn of the game. On your first turn, you do not draw any cards if you are going first. After that, all draw phases are the same. If you have no cards in your deck when your draw phase begins and you cannot draw a card, you lose automatically. After the draw phase is the breeding phase. During the breeding phase, you are able to do one of 2 things. If you have no Digimon in your breeding area, you can flip one card face up from the top of your Digi-Egg deck and place it in the breeding area. This is colloquially known as hatching. If you already have a Digimon there, you can move it from the breeding area into your battle area, but only if the Digimon in question is of level 3 or higher. A Digimon moved into the battle area this way is not considered being played, so its on-play effects do not activate. Also, a Digimon moved in this way can attack during the same turn's main phase. You can also choose to do neither of these things. You don't have to hatch or move your Digimon. This can be useful, as Digimon in the breeding area cannot be affected by anything going on in the battle area. But keep in mind that Digimon in the breeding area can't affect anything in the battle area as well. This does include when digivolving abilities, meaning that if you digivolve onto a Digimon in the breeding area, you do not activate its when digivolving ability. After this, we move on to our main phase. The main phase is, as the name implies, the main part of our turn. This is when most of your cards are played, and you can perform any of these actions in any order you choose. You can digivolve your Digimon so long as you meet the Digivolution requirements. You are even able to digivolve Digimon in the breeding area. And remember, you always draw a card from your deck when you digivolve. I recommend always doing this step first to maximize the number of cards you'll have access to during your turn. You can play Digimon, Tamers, and option cards from your hand by paying their memory costs. You can activate abilities of cards in your battle area. And finally, you can attack your opponent's security stack or their suspended Digimon. On the note of suspended cards, unless otherwise stated, you cannot unsuspend a card once you've suspended it. Some cards can navigate around this, but for the most part, a suspended card will have to wait until your next Unsuspend phase. When a Digimon is suspended, it is vulnerable to being the target of one of your opponent's Digimon during their turn. Once you are done declaring your attack, and all when attacking abilities are resolved, your opponent can choose to activate any abilities such as Blocker. The Blocker ability can make a Digimon the new target of an attack by suspending itself. Only after all these decisions are made will the battle begin. In the case of a Digimon attacking another Digimon, it's as simple as figuring out who has the higher DP. If the attacker is the higher of the two, the target Digimon is deleted. If the attacker is the lower of the two, it's deleted instead. If the DP is equal, both Digimon are deleted. If you are attacking the opposing player themselves, your opponent will reveal the first card in their security stack. If it's a Digimon, that Digimon will do battle with the Digimon that is attacking. If your Digimon has the higher DP, then the security Digimon goes into the trash. If they are equal or less than, both Digimon will go to the trash. Some effects can prevent this, so make sure your Digimon truly lost the battle before being deleted. If it is a tamer or an option card, check to see if it has a security effect, and follow the instructions on that specific card. If anything you did during your main phase ended with your opponent having one or more memory, your turn is over, and your opponent's turn will begin. However, if you have any cards with end of turn effects, they will activate before your opponent's start of turn effects begin. If you have no way of ending your turn, or you don't want to play something that will give your opponent a lot of memory, you can always pass your turn. This action ends your turn automatically and gives your opponent 3 memory at the start of their turn. As of this video, there are only 2 ways to win a Digimon card game. Either you attack your opponent when they have no security cards remaining, or your opponent can't draw a card during their draw phase. Even if they have no cards in their deck and Digivolve during their main phase, they still can't lose despite having no cards to draw. If either of these conditions are met, the game is over. In our next episodes, we will start to go into greater detail on the individual card texts found on various cards. I'll be calling these phrases blue text effects. Thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next episode. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.